Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Castlevania Season 4, Episode 1. So we are here with the final season of Netflix's Castlevania, sort of. See, there is going to be a sequel series after this, starring, I believe it's Richter Belmont, who's next up. And it's going to kind of just be continuing the legacy, basically. And it's set in the same universe and all of that jazz. It's just the future. So that's really interesting that they are continuing this in that way. But we have to finish off this final season first. So last season, our main trio were a little separated. Alucard was doing his own thing with some new learned youngsters who ended up betraying him. And he had to kill them in the end. And it was really depressing because they were really cool and I liked them. And it sucks that it had to end that way, but it did. And Trevor and Sypha, meanwhile, were in this village that was kind of run by this church and a judge. The judge was corrupt in his own ways, but not as much as the church. Like, the judge was kind of fucked up and he did some really terrible shit, like sending kids to their death in this pit trap by his apple tree. But the church was trying to summon demons and shit because they had a hard-on for Dracula and his wife. So yeah. There's also this one guy voiced by Bill Nighy. I can't remember his name at the moment. But he was really interesting. He had more of a deeper backstory to his character, and in the end, he ended up basically, you could say, sacrificing himself to accomplish his goal. He ended up being a good guy, and there was no real victory in the end of last season. It was a very solemn, sad, and unfortunate conclusion. So now the question is, how is this going to end? We still have Carmilla and her squad of vampire ladies, one of whom is keeping the one dude as a pet. I can't remember his name at the moment. I've always had trouble remembering his name. Is it Isaac, or is Isaac the other one? The other one is on his way with this demon army and everything. And it's like, this has all got to be wrapped up in one season. And this season is not that long. Like, I think it's only 10 episodes. I don't know. I don't have all of them downloaded, but I think it's 10 episodes, which is like, I think that's the same as the last season, but at the same time, it's just like, that's not a lot of episodes to get everything concluded, so I wonder how they're going to do this. It's possible. It's definitely possible. It's just tricky. We'll see how it goes, though. But yeah. So I am definitely excited to get into this. It is unfortunate that I did end up dropping Young Justice Outsiders to get to this on Fridays. But it's just like I couldn't. I just couldn't force myself to go through with it any longer when I just wasn't enjoying reacting to the series at that point. So yeah, I think it was the right move to make, as unfortunate as it was, and now we're here. But hopefully this series goes well and we get back into things that I know I like. Because this is, I mean, we've reacted to the first 3 seasons, so it's like, I know I like this series. But let's get into it. Let's see what we end up thinking of season 4 and how it ends up going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, there's really two sections to this episode, as well as just a lot of setup. So I'll talk about the Alucard stuff first because it's quicker, I guess, to talk about. So Alucard, I guess he's found quite a few more people to impale in front of the castle, other than just the two that were there last season. But he's also seeming to just be as gloomy and depressive and whatnot as he's come to be. A horse ends up riding up to Castle Dracula, and he sees a rider dead upon it, along with a note telling him that a nearby village, well, not nearby, like 20 miles away, has been ravaged by night creatures and all, and he's been asked for his help. He buries the guy and just kind of realizes that he's become more like Trevor recently, and just kind of like sets up for, I guess, the reunion that's most likely going to happen between these characters in this season. So most of this, though, centered around Trevor and Sypha, who throughout the 6 weeks since the end of Season 3's events, have been traveling around taking out different vampires and monsters and whatnot, all connected to resurrecting Dracula. All of these people, since originally the priests and whatnot in the village they were at, all of these others have been either attempting to resurrect Dracula or have been worshipping like his portrait or stuff like that. And it's like that very much seems to be a common theme right now. All these creatures, all these vampires and whatnot want Dracula back. And so Trevor and Sypha are having to deal with all of them and trying to figure everything out. And we get to see a bunch of fucked up shit through it, like these kids who are being sacrificed and whatnot. And just a bunch of horrific shit surrounding that, and it's just like, God. And these people, this vampire in a church is trying to sacrifice these humans to bring back Dracula, and Trevor's like so annoyed. He's like, I wish I could kill you twice. And Sypha is starting to curse and just starting to get sick of it, and just kind of becoming more like Trevor herself in a way. They have a bit of an argument over that, which is fun. And we get to see some cool action stuff. Them fighting these skeletons. We get to see Sypha use her ice magic to create like this buzzsaw around them, killing all the night creatures around. Just fun stuff like that. And I'm really interested to see what's going to come next in regards to that. But this was very much setting up the idea that these vampires and creatures are trying to bring back Dracula, and just the kind of mindset that our characters are all in. But it does introduce a couple of new characters. These two new vampires who are in Targoviste, the town where Dracula's wife was killed. Which basically started everything. Murdered by the church just because they thought because she's smart and does science that she must be a witch and bullshit like that. So we get to meet these two new vampires briefly. One apparently is this British vampire who was one of Dracula's first generals or something like that. And he had gone to Targoviste to take it for Dracula as a gift before everything happened. And we don't really get to know much about the other guy, but it seems like he's Russian. So I'm wondering what these two characters are going to have to do with much, especially considering we already have so much to follow up on with Carmilla and them, with again, I think it's Isaac who's the one bringing in the demon army and stuff. A lot of stuff still coming up in the future. And introducing new elements to that like this is a little bit much, maybe. But we'll see how they handle it. I'm very much interested. This was a good first episode, just bringing us back into the swing of things. So I'm definitely excited to see where the rest of this season goes. I've heard a lot of good things. I've heard people like really praising it. Haven't heard any spoilers, luckily, but I have heard people are really into this season. So I'm very excited and hope that this season ends out Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard's stories very well. Also, there was a little hint that Death is coming. So that's going to be fun when that happens, because Death is in the games as a kind of mini boss, a secondary boss to Dracula and everything. So it's like, that's going to be fun when he finally comes in. Probably going to be one of the final enemies of the season, and by extension, series, I guess, up until the sequel series comes out. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this first episode of Castlevania Season 4, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.